Welcome to New Answers Podcast. I'm Gwen Flynn,
And I'm Donna Ellis.
and we're here creating a community that uses our collective life experiences, so that's Donna's and mine, and yours, to offer new answers to life challenges in a kind of kitchen table brain trust that will help us, we think, take control of our lives when we feel like we're kind of out of control. But our conversation today is going to center around the topic of leaders and leadership.
And most of us experience leadership or think about it as being in the workplace. And when it comes to our own lives, we may disregard or even neglect our capacity to lead ourselves and to lead others. So today we want to talk about the characteristics of leadership that are universal and that we can use to lead ourselves to meet our own life challenges.
Yeah, many of us are uncomfortable with leadership and look to others. And I find that to be true with the clients that I work with, many of whom have been promoted to positions of greater responsibility and may have more people reporting to them than before. And while they are happy about the change in title and all the benefits that come with that, with increased salary, there's somehow a feeling of that they didn't really deserve it. It's undeserved promotion, that they really don't have what it takes in order to do this. There's a bit of an insecurity there. And that's what I work with them on in helping them to overcome those insecurities, in addition to helping them to refine some of the skills and practices that they bring to the position. Because somebody identified in them that they do have the leadership skills, even though they don't recognize it. So it's interesting, and that's how, this whole conversation has come about. We don't recognize some of the skills that we do have that would be applied to this notion of leadership. Um, in fact, I did some, I guess, looking around and researching about leadership in a number of different ways. And one of them was I came across some studies that showed that leadership is something that is learned, that leaders are not made for the most part. They're not, leaders are made, as a matter of fact, but are not born, is what I'm trying to say. And even though there's this old sort of adage that's been going around that says, oh, she's a born leader, or he's a born leader. And it's something that I think I applied to my grandson recently, who, when his school supplies, he's 4 years old, school supplies were taken away, and he didn't understand why. He said he wanted to talk to the person in charge so he could get his supplies back. And I said, oh, this child is a leader. He's not going to, accept anything that just happens to him. But he's part of what I've learned is 30% of the population who has that innate ability to learn to lead. So it's 30% that has this leadership capacity that's genetic. 70% of us, me, it's learned. And I don't know how many people know that. Have you heard that before, Donna, at all?
That leaders, well, they say leaders are made, not born. Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So it might be surprising to some of you to know that. But in addition to finding that study, I also went back to find out how is leadership defined. And I found this Oxford Dictionary definition that says, it's very concise and simple, that I'll share with you now. And the definition of leadership from the Oxford Dictionary is: to lead is to guide operation or activity, or direct on a course. And I'll repeat that. To lead is to guide operation or activity or direct on a course. Now, that may sound familiar to some of you who may have had an opportunity to guide an operation or activity or direct on a course. And this may be something that you can relate to in your workplace setting or in your household setting. So now I'm going to share with you some characteristics that have been identified, and these are key characteristics with a good leader and their importance. And this is from my own experience. And so there's about 7 of them. So hang with me. Now, while I'm going to give it to you orally, we're also going to make this available on our, when we post this podcast, so that you'll have something in writing to be able to reference, after this. So the first one is the leader should have a vision, and that's the ability to see what's possible. So looking beyond the circumstances in present day, being able to look forward and see what is it we want to try to do here. And part of that is, and that's related to goal setting, identifying the desired outcome you want, being able to communicate effectively, and that is setting expectations, and in the setting of the expectations and verbalizing what it is, you're going after. Also being a good listener and being able to take in information that will help you to come to some decisions about the goals that you want to reach in your vision. Identifying the resources that you're going to need to get there. What is it you're going to need to accomplish the goal? What is it that you need in terms of personnel, like the human resources that you need? And what are the tools that you're going to need to get there? The hardware, the equipment, or whatever your needs are in order to help you get there. And then being able to develop an action plan. And this is making a roadmap, a step-by-step roadmap that will lead you towards your ultimate goal. Being able to delegate responsibility, and that is assigning tasks appropriately to the qualified personnel after you've taken into account what skill sets, people that you're going to need in your orbit to work with you to help you reach this goal. And are you going to have to call on other people to do this, or is this something that you rely on yourself to do? For the most part, I'm sure you're going to need the support of other people around you, and being able to understand their capability that's going to help you reach your goal. And then as you are taking your step-by-steps towards the goal achievement, being able to, at some points, do some reflection and take time to examine where you are in achieving your goals, where there might be obstacles that come up that you're going to have to adjust your situation accordingly. And so that's being flexible enough to do that. That's to take the time, do the reflection, and make the course correction as necessary. So those are basically the fundamental sort of key universal characteristics, no matter what your circumstance or your situation.
Gwen, I heard this yesterday, being deployed in a department store. It was very early. There was a manager with a clipboard. She had a couple of guys with her that must have been department managers. And she said, the store has things that it has to have done this week. It has to be done by 9 a.m. each day. So you're going to have to get your personnel together to commit to coming in and working. And you're going to have to make a plan for them to achieve these things. So, she had the vision, the goals, she communicated, and they listened, as you said. And then, there was the personnel needed to come into action and they needed to commit to it. But these department managers needed to be flexible and find other people and find other ways of doing things if they needed to. But they too had to have, some sort of way of delegating and getting things done. And this may sound familiar to us in our own homes too. We've done it, with maybe kids, maybe or a husband or a spouse with a list of honeydews. So, when we think about the 7 characteristics, the universal characteristics that Gwen just outlined, they're familiar to us, and we should be able to, if we think about them, we use them, each of them, we'll be able to deploy them for ourselves, to lead ourselves and others, and to lead changes in things like our household circumstances.
Absolutely. So some of the points that we want to leave you with that we think are important to this conversation is the fact that leaders are made for the most part and not born. 70% of us have to develop those characteristics, and we outline what those characteristics are. That everyone can develop those leadership skills, and to look to yourself for leadership in your personal challenges so that you can feel like you can take control of your life situation. So as Donna said, next time we are going to talk about some real world situations so that you can see it for yourself, those characteristics in action. So in the meantime, look for those leadership traits that we discussed earlier in the posting of this podcast. And until then, I'm Gwen Flynn.
I'm Donna Ellis, and we'll see you then.